A reflection for the third Sunday after Easter. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. From today's epistle, 1 Peter chapter 2. Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims to refrain yourselves from carnal desires, which war against the soul, having your conversation good among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may, by the good works which they shall behold in you, glorify God in the day of visitation. Be ye subject, therefore, to every human creature for God's sake. And a little further down, honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. I had a disappointment last week when I went to collect the shopping. I had ordered online a coronation sponge cake. In the photograph, it looked rather regal, seemed to be just the job. But when I got there, they'd run out. How can we celebrate the coronation without a cake? Well, it was probably just as well it would have been stale by the time we reach Saturday the 6th. What are we Catholics to make of the crowning of King Charles? If we ask that question, it's a bit of a struggle, really, to avoid a history lesson, isn't it, when you think of the last two kings named Charles in this country? They were embroiled in a struggle themselves between Puritanism and the established religion, in which the Catholic faith was by that time on the sidelines. So let's think about authority in more general terms and how we should live our faith in a constitutional monarchy. After all, we have a different idea of what kingship means, don't we? Can today's epistle help? Earlier in the chapter, St. Peter had called his readers a chosen generation, a kingly priesthood, a holy nation, a purchased people. And of course, we are used after the Second Vatican Council to the idea of the people being a priesthood and a kingly one at that. Yet, at the same time, they are strangers and pilgrims. And this tension is one we are familiar with, or we should be. We belong to a different kingdom, yet we must live in this one. And St. Peter seems to be going to tell us how to do it. And it starts off really in rather strong form. Be ye subject, therefore, to every human creature for God's sake. This is a hard saying, isn't it? We are not in our own country, yet we must obey the laws, and we must do as we are told. Up to a point. That doesn't mean that we live like others, just because certain things are legal in our society. Doesn't mean that we should follow the trend. We must refrain ourselves from carnal desires which war against the soul. Yes. What's the consequence of this tension when others notice us? Well, the Gentiles, those not of the faith around us, may speak against us as evildoers. We have that today, don't we? Those who misunderstand our lifestyle. They have developed values opposite and maybe in opposition to us, deliberately so. Sometimes you wonder whether that is the psychological basis of what people project. How else can abortion be presented as a good? How are we to respond? Well, St. Peter says, by good deeds. And we might add a few well-known sayings like by going extra mile with them, by turning the other cheek. Yes. How will that make them glory God in the day of visitation? That's a bit more of an obscure saying, surely. Well, it suggests to me that they will be converted by our good deeds, by our turning the cheek, and by going the extra mile. In response to their slander, their twisted thinking, and maybe even their actions against us. That by doing well you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. I'm afraid I'm one of those who often forgets that principle. I'd rather argue with someone than actually see their conversion. There's another aspect as well. It sounds, the way I painted the picture, as though we were living in some sort of prison island. No, despite the fact that we are strangers and pilgrims, we are to act as free. Free because we know that we belong to another kingdom. Freedom, remember, is something internal. You think about all of those people who wrote about their time in the gulags and prison, one sort or another. They maintained their freedom, their internal freedom, because of the strength of their faith, of course. And we are to be like that. We don't get too wound up about the fact that sometimes our freedoms of a physical sort are limited, or perhaps we feel that we are not listened to even in our democracy. Verse 20 rather sums it up. For what glory is it if, committing sin and being buffeted for it, you endure? But if doing well you suffer patiently, this is thankworthy before God. For this unto this you are called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving you an example that you should follow his steps. I take from that the suffering of Christ is itself efficacious, powerful for the conversion of souls. Our Lord is our King. In the past, earthly kings did draw authority from God and from his church, of course. We know that. It was perhaps, we might look back upon it as perhaps an idyllic period. Well, for us today, it's reduced to a rather nostalgic pageant. My government, we get used to King Charles sitting and saying that when he reads out the King's speech. My government will do what it likes. Power has passed to others. But we mustn't simply write off this idea of the authority above Parliament as just nostalgia. The idea remains that kings are subject in turn to God. We believe as Catholics that God is the ultimate authority, and every government, be it ever so anti-Catholic, acts by his permission. That, of course, brings us to the old question about why God allows sin and evil. And we know the answer, because he has given us freedom, and it would appear that he's also given, well, perhaps countries or empires certain freedoms. But there is authority above the democratic process. There is authority above dictatorship as well. God wants us to be subjects down here. He expects us, however, to suffer for it. He expects us to be purified by the experience. He expects our relationships with others to be perfected by it, especially when they lord it over us. St. Thomas More wrestled with obedience to lawful authority. He had spent a whole lifetime in obedience to lawful authority, hadn't he? Especially the king. And he gave us such a powerful solution. He would not sign the oath of supremacy, which made Henry head of the church in this country. He had served him faithfully. But the formula which he recited when he went to the block said, "I die the king's good servant and God's first." A properly formed conscience knows where to draw the line. Do we hand over responsibility of our conscience to the government? Of course not. And there will be a place always for those who will oppose government policies, whether in Hong Kong or in Westminster, and we should support them. There will be those who will have to call out dictatorships and the like. But we will be judged by the use we have made of the freedoms we have internally as well as externally. Have we used our freedoms in order to serve the Lord more faithfully? St. Paul preached salvation from house arrest and in chains. And we owe it to our neighbors. We owe it to them to be witnesses by our lives to the love of God and the saving faith which we hold unto. May we be purified on the anvil of modern life, yes, when we walk down the street, having to avert our eyes from things that are improper for us even to look upon. When in our workplace we are challenged because we will not go along with popular ideas. In our family lives, in all of these areas, may we realize that we are being hammered out to be what God wants us to be. May we grow in virtue, even as we look forward to the kingdom of God. And God save King Charles III. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever.